Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with my colleague Mary Gamba. Mary, we're going to kick off the program with an important conversation we had with Kim Hanemann, who is the President and Chief Operating Officer at PSE&G. What did you take away? Listen, a lot of that conversation is about energy policy, affordability, accessibility, reliability, but we also talked about leadership. What did you take from that?
I was so impressed. That was the first time that I've ever seen Kim in an interview. I loved hearing her talk about her passion, her engineering background, and really just how that engineering background ties to innovation, leadership, and problem solving. So for me, that was the biggest takeaway from that segment and just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and Kim also talks about her dad, who was a union construction worker / leader, and what she learned from him as well. Kim Hanemann, who is one of the top leaders in the state at PSE&G, the President and Chief Operating Officer, Lessons in Leadership, another great leader. Let's check it out. Kim, great to have you with us.
Great to be here this morning. Thank you, Steve.
This is the question, Kim, a lot of people are thinking about. We're taping this in late January. It's pretty cold, right? What exactly is PSE&G doing to ensure that utilities remain accessible and affordable to the millions of residents that you serve every day? Please.
So there's a number of things we do. So if I take the affordability, we are very focused on affordability. So how do we do that? So one thing we do is we make sure we make the right capital investments in our system and we execute them well. And the other part is we're very conscious of our operation and maintenance costs and expenditures. So when we maintain all of those assets out in the street, we do it in a way that is very efficient. We're really proud of the fact that over the past 10 years, our growth rate for our operation and maintenance is 2.5%, so below the inflation amount. So we're extremely proud of that. Regarding affordability, all of that goes to making us one of the most affordable utilities in the country and in the region. And what I mean by that is when you look at the share of a wallet, the person's wallet, medium income, their combined gas and electric bill for PSE&G is about 3%. And that is one of the best percentages in the country. And our rates within the region are very, very competitive. But the other thing we do is our most vulnerable customers, we also try to match them with the available assistance. There's a couple of programs out there.
By the way, Kim, as you talk about this, we're putting up the website at PSE&G to people find out more. Tell us a little bit more. Go ahead.
Right. So one is around our energy and efficiency investments. So we help people save money, save energy, and save money on their bills, whether it's by doing a home audit, by getting a rebate on a more efficient appliance. And they can find more information about that at pseg.com/energy efficiency. And the other part we say is connecting our most vulnerable customers to the various payment assistance programs that the state offers, whether that be New Jersey Shares or LIHEAP, which is the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. So we're really to help those customers and making ends meet. And once again, those are also on our website. You can help find some of that with pseg.com/help.
Kim, let's do this. Most pressing aspect or piece of the energy equation in New Jersey in 2025 is?
The most pressing, I think, safety and reliability continue to be our most pressing concern. And then a third would be affordability.
Now, let's take that in pieces. When we say reliability, from a practical point of view, Kim, explain what that means. We're taping this in late January 2025. We'll be seeing a little bit later. So it's freezing today. It'll be freezing for a while. But then there are summer issues having to do with reliability, air conditioning, et cetera. What exactly does reliability mean for your millions of customers?
So reliability for our customers mean that their lights are on, their homes are powered, their homes are warm in the winter and then cool in the summer. But the thing, in order to deliver our customers' expectations, we need to do a lot of improvements in our infrastructure to deliver that. And let me talk a little bit about that. I've been in this industry for a very long time. I would say events like Superstorm Sandy have made us think very differently about reliability and really resiliency is a new part of the discussion that we're having. So in the past 12 years since Superstorm Sandy, we've had more severe weather events than my first 25 years. So we've undertaken a great deal of investments in order to make our system more resilient. So example being, after Superstorm Sandy, we raised and rebuilt over 60 substations.
What are substations?
So substations are, what happens is they take the high voltage transmission voltage, they drop it down, and then they feed the circuits that feed resident streets and things. So really integral part, and really impact the number of customers if they fail or if they go underwater, like some of them did with Sandy.
So a lot was learned from Sandy and changes were made accordingly?
Yes, absolutely. So as we said, it really made us think about our assets differently and how to make them more resilient to severe weather events.
Kim, you talked about affordability as well. Energy affordability. Are energy costs higher in part because of, well, I don't know the reasons, but the governor and others trying to bring more and more businesses into the state. As more and more businesses come into the state, we lose some as well. As more businesses come into the state, does that by itself increase cost?
No, that doesn't increase cost.
Increase demand?
Well, it can increase demand, and we're seeing that all around, increases in demand in electricity, and caused by a few things. So you think about last summer, June and July, we had an incredible heat wave, right? So people use more power to cool their homes during that time. And then you also think about, as we attract new businesses into the state, like data centers, that load increases as well. So those are all part of it. And as electrification happens, so EVs and things, that all also uses additional electricity. So when we plan our infrastructure investments, we look more than 10 years out to the future.
Talk more about the EV piece of this. What should we know?
Well, so EVs continue to grow in this state of New Jersey, the adoption of EVs. And I believe by the end of 2024, we'll be at almost 300,000 registered EVs in the state. About 280, I think, that's the number. So we are continuing to see growth there, and that growth will use electricity. We'll see whether that growth slows down or not, but we have not seen a slowdown yet in New Jersey.
You are one of the top leaders in the state. You look at any list of leaders who matter, and Kim's on that list. Let me ask you this. Your leadership journey, number one leadership lesson you have learned over the years being in key leadership positions would be?
My greatest leadership lesson is learn from the people doing the work. So I have a degree in engineering, teaches me how to solve problems. But one of my greatest lessons is I made a point of learning early in my career in the field from people who do the work, and then how can I use my problem solving as an engineer to make the business better and help them. So that is clearly my greatest one. My dad was a union leader. I'm a Jersey girl through and through.
Where'd you grow up, Kim?
Roway. I was born in Roway.
Got it. Your dad was a union.
Accent, can't you?
Oh wait, there's an accent from Roway, is there?
No, Jersey accent. I mean.
Oh yeah, I picked that up, of course, right? But let me ask you, he was a union.
Yeah, my father was a union construction worker. So I started in construction in the CBs, had a union construction job as he got out of the service. So every meal on our table, my college education was all paid for by union wages. And I was first generation, my siblings and I, that had the opportunity to go to college.
Why engineering?
I was one of those, I would say, tomboys who liked to work with my hands and fix things. And I had two older brothers who used to let me help them fix their cars. So it just, the natural construction was always the dare conversation too back then.
That's so interesting. But I'm curious about your engineering background. You said earlier when I asked you about the leadership lesson that your engineering background helps you solve problems. Question, I don't think those of us who are not in engineering really understand it. Sometimes I think it's very exact and linear and logical, and leadership ain't.
Right.
So how do you balance, Kim, that training and the way your brain is wired, if you will, as an engineer with an engineering background, but the complexity, the nuance, and uncertainty of leadership?
So I think, once again, I think it goes back to that problem solving. Here's the problem. Here's what we need to fix. And you can think about, as a leader, of how you bring the right skill sets to the table to fix that. And we talk about diversity of background and thought. So it's all embedded within that. Here's the problem, what we have to fix, and bring the right people. You kind of think about some of the movies about the space launches and where they had to solve problems and figure things out. So that's not linear. That is, if you unleash people and allow them to be creative and you have diverse ideas, you come up with really creative solutions.
Well, Kim Hanemann has been coming up with creative solutions for a couple of years plus, making a difference every day as the president and chief operating officer at PSE&G. Kim, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for having me.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
I am alive today thanks to my kidney donor. I am traveling and more active than ever before.
I'm alive today thanks to my heart donor. I'm full of energy and back singing in my church choir.
I'm alive today thanks to my lung donor. I'm breathing easy and I'm enjoying life's precious moments.
There are about 4,000 people in New Jersey waiting for a life-saving transplant.
Donation needs diversity.
For more information or to become an organ and tissue donor, visit njsharingnetwork.org.
We're now joined by Scott Shaw, who's President and Chief Executive Officer, I can get that out, CEO of Lincoln Technical Institute. Scott, good to see you.
Nice to be here. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
You got it. The logo is on your shirt. The website will be up right now. Tell everyone what Lincoln Technical Institute is.
Sure. So Lincoln Technical Institute was founded in 1946 right here in New Jersey, and we are today one of the largest career technical schools in the country. We have 22 campuses in 13 states, around 15,000 students. We are the largest provider in most of the markets that we serve of automotive technicians, electricians, HVAC techs. We also train people to be welders, licensed practical nurses, and medical assistants.
How did you find yourself into, because you were introduced to us by our mutual friend, Guillermo Artiles, who's over at McCarter and English, one of our longtime partners. And he was telling us about Lincoln Technical. And I always knew your brand because I saw, we recognize it with the logo, but I didn't realize how expansive the Institute is. But I'm curious, how did you wind up connected to them?
Sure. I happened to be in banking before this, and the group I was with had relationships with the company. And 23 years ago, I joined Lincoln Tech, thinking it would be a short stay, but obviously it's been a lot longer.
Yeah, Mary, jump in.
Absolutely. And Scott, so nice to meet you. And I'm fascinated by this. My dad, Bill Deering, who watches this show religiously every weekend, he was a machine shop supervisor, welder, all of his life. He still actually does a lot with valves, actuation, etc. And my question to you is, how can we change the mindset of our young adults that are coming out of high school who think, I have to go to college because everybody's going to a typical traditional four-year college. College is not for everyone. How can we really change the mindset and embrace the fact that we need young adults to enter these fields, the plumbing, as you mentioned, the electrical, the automotive, the welding. Talk a little bit about that and how we can really get the public to support and embrace that this is a really viable, exceptional career path for our young adults.
Well, the good news is it does seem like people are talking a lot more about it in a positive way. I mean, we've been doing this for over 78 years, and I've been at the company, as I said, for over 20 years. And this is the first time in a long, long time that people are really talking positively about the trades. And so that's a good first move. The second good move that's happening is we need to talk about it more, frankly, in the schools and in the middle schools and in the high schools, because unfortunately, we've taken all the shop classes out of school to push everyone to academics to go to college. And now we have generations of people that don't know what these skills are. They don't know if they have really a great talent for them because they don't get exposed to them. And so it's a lot harder to convince them to go in these trades because they're not exposed to it and they've been told you have to go to college. Now, again, the conversation's changing, especially since COVID. People are valuing, what is college? I'm online the whole time. What am I getting? All this talk about student debt. People are realizing, hey, maybe it isn't the golden ticket that it's been proposed to me. And people are realizing, hey, I graduate from college and yet I still don't have a job. What is it that I did when I was in college? So all these things are causing people to be more reflective and think about the trades. And then you hear these stories of people who have become very successful in the trades because they are great jobs, and that's helping to build awareness. And then there's also this concern about AI, and AI is designed to kind of take away your mind, not your hands. And we're training people to work with their hands. And these are skills that AI can't replace. AI can't come in and put a new network into your office or a new outlet into your home or fix your car. It may help you diagnose the problem, but it's not going to be able to do the problem. So as people think these things through, it is becoming more accepted. And that's a good thing, I think, for the country because the employers are just desperate out there.
Scott, I'm so fascinated by what you're saying because we have this discussion with our kids all the time because you grow up, you got to get a college degree, and for countless millions, that's the right path. But to act like, and I'm pro education,
yep,
but education means different things. It doesn't always mean that traditional 4-year college degree. But I'm curious about this. Identify a couple of the 6 skilled trades, Scott, that are really standing out as very popular and growing in terms of demand and employment opportunities, please.
Well, we basically see, for us, what we're offering, the ones that I mentioned earlier, demand across all of them growing. But some that are really popular seem to be in the electrician position. I think as people understand that our whole world's becoming more electrified, computers and everything else just require power. So that's, I think, driving a lot of interest. Welding seems to be very popular, which frankly, I wouldn't have thought because it is a little bit. Well,
Why?
Why is it so popular?
Yeah.
I don't know, but one thing that I do know, which is very surprising to me, social media is impacting this and helping this. You're seeing young people who are going into the trades, putting up on TikTok and other things, videos of them just doing very simple things, but it's what they're doing with their hands. And somehow, some way, that's resonating with a lot of people. And that's the way that they're learning about these trades. They're seeing other young people doing them and seeing what their experiences are, and then saying, hey, that sounds interesting to me, or that looks interesting to me, or, I don't want to sit in a cube all day. I want to be outside or doing something where every day I'm in a different environment, facing a different challenge. So I would never have guessed that would be a good thing out of social media, but I do think it is helping.
Yeah, it's important to identify some good things from social media. Mary, we got a couple minutes left. Go ahead.
Absolutely, Scott. I would love to talk a little bit about leadership and partnerships. Obviously, with Lessons in Leadership, we talk about the importance of partnerships a lot. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we did our research, and it seems like you have partnered with Johnson Controls to really just address this growing demand. Can you talk a little bit about why that partnership with Johnson Controls is so important to what it is that you're doing in your mission?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge we see kind of across the board. Johnson Controls, about $27 billion international company. I think they're like in the top 75 of the Fortune 500, yet they struggle finding technicians to service the products that they sell to their customers. And yet here they are, a large organization, still can't seem to solve that problem. And they came to us because they were hiring a lot of our graduates. And after further conversations, they realized that we could help them accelerate the number of people coming to them. So we created a Johnson Controls Academy within Lincoln Tech, whereby students go through our basic program. They get hired by Johnson Controls, but then we are still training them for the next 6 weeks. 2 weeks online and 4 weeks in person. And what they've learned is that, and then also another key part is we then track those students for another year after they've been hired by Johnson Controls as a mentor, because I have 4 children that are all in the workforce. I always hear their complaints, they're not getting enough guidance from their employer. And so what we're able to do is touch base with them monthly to say, how are things going and what other skills might you need to advance? And this has accelerated their path out into becoming certified technicians for Johnson Controls. And it's just a small example of companies, if they partner with the right institutions, and they also need to invest in educating their young workforce, they can get the talent that they need, and the talent will stay with them, which is also always a concern for them.
You've been listening to Scott Shaw, who's the president and CEO of Lincoln Technical Institute. Their website has been up. Make sure you check out who they are, what they're doing, and see if the path makes sense for you. Scott, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it very much as well.
You got it. This is Lessons in Leadership. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague, Mary Gamba, has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. Welcome back to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with Mary Gamba. Mary, you introduced me to, and if you want to find out more about our, what do we call it, our leadership library?
Yeah, our leadership library. And it's on our website, stand-deliver.com. It'll come up right on screen.
Well, we keep adding, subtracting books in the leadership library. And Mary introduced me to this Mel Robbins, M-E-L, Robbins. So Mel Robbins became famous. I think she did a TED Talk. She has 2 books that are popular. The 5-Second Rule, I think Mary told me about this, and this other book called Let Them. We're putting both of these books in the leadership library. Mary, the 5-Second Rule, a brief description of it is?
Pretty simply is whenever you are going to make a decision, if you're going to make a decision, I need to do the laundry right now, is don't wait, don't push it back, count, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. The reasoning is if you wait too long, if you come up with some sort of an idea, if you have a goal, if you set an intention, too often, if you don't do it in that minute, think about how many times, I know I do, I go to get on the Peloton and I'm like, I'll go on it in 5 minutes. I'll go on it in 5 minutes. Instead, do it now. I mean, in my opinion, the book could just be called Do It Now. Don't wait, do it, and take action. Yeah, this morning, I didn't want to go work out in the gym, and I counted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I was still laying in bed. No, I got up. That works too.
Yeah, this is the book that my wife and
I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, well, my wife and I have been arguing, Jennifer and I have been arguing about this book. It's called Let Them. All right? Let Them, Mel Robbins. It's a theory, and again, Google, find out who Mel Robbins is. A life-changing tool that millions of people can't stop talking about. All right, New York Times bestseller. Mary, Mel Robbins says, basically, stop trying to control what other people do, including your own kids. Stop trying to micromanage everyone around you because you don't like what they're doing or when they're doing it or if they're not doing it. Let them. She basically says, let people do whatever they want to do. And my wife says, Steve, you're taking it too literally. And I said, no. She says, let them. And I say, really? Let them? You have a lot of parameters, a lot of guidelines, and a lot of limitations on that because I'm not a big fan of let them. You say?
I say I have lived my life by let them, and I didn't know that it was called a thing. So an author really resonates with me when they have common sense ideas, things that you've thought of, you just didn't know how to capture it in a really cool book title or a theory of let them. And you and I have talked about this for years, and we didn't talk about it yet, is that I often have said to you in the past, I don't really care if people like me. And I know you don't believe that. I really don't. I'm like, if they don't like me, let them.
Okay. Elvin, jump on, please, my friend, our director.
Sorry, Elvin.
The problem with let them, listen, there's some value to if someone doesn't like you, you can't make them like you, let them not like you. I'm okay with some of that stuff.
Mhm.
Elvin, when it comes to management and leadership, let them do what they're going to do.
That's not what Mel Robbins is saying, though.
Okay, but I'm asking, how does the let them theory play itself out in leadership? I'm saying it doesn't. Elvin, you say?
I don't think it does either. I give specific instructions. I don't let them do anything. Because when you let them is when you have issues. So I'd rather not. No.
Mary, so I want to be clear.
I agree completely. I am not saying let them act, let them miss deadlines, let them give sloppy work. I'm not saying that at all. It's more of internalizing what let them mean. Let them is all about your own emotional reaction to how people are treating you, what they're saying, what they're doing. That's more so what that theory is all about.
But here's my problem with, listen, so Mel Robbins, this is not a leadership book then. It's a personal self-help book, correct, Mary?
It really is. Yeah, no, it 100% is.
Okay, but Elvin, how about this? Mary says she doesn't care if anyone likes her, all right? As a leader, she includes that as well. A couple minutes left. Well, Elvin, why don't you just let me go on? I'm sorry.
I'm the same way though, Steve. I don't care if people like me or not.
I don't buy it. Don't buy it.
That's what he says to me all the time, and I genuinely
Elvin, make the case.
As a leader, you can't be liked by everyone. You can't be friends with everyone. You have to lead with authority. And I feel like once you let that go, people don't respect you and you can't lead.
But listen, here's my problem with the argument. If I act a certain way during a taping and a team member's upset about it, well, let them be upset. No, I have to deal with the fact that I may have handled myself in a way that caused that reaction or contributed to that reaction. I can't just let them be peeved, let them shut off.
So real quick, and Frank, I'm not throwing you under the bus. This is just a scenario.
Yeah, he's got tire marks on his neck already. Go ahead.
Frank messes up audio and I scream at him because he's messed up audio during the production, and then he's upset for the rest of the production. That's not my fault.
Stop it, Elvin.
Hold up. Listen.
Go ahead.
He can choose to still be upset. Frank, come on too. Or choose to finish out the day, because once we're done, Frank knowing who I am, I will apologize. But in the heat of the moment, sometimes I will scream. Am I right or wrong, Frank? In the heat of the moment. But right. I will always apologize after the fact.
Well, you let him speak?
Well, luckily haven't had that issue.
Right. Not with you, but you see what happened with
I've
other
never
people.
heard you scream.
But I agree. If that's the question, I honestly agree. Like, in order to be a leader, you have to chastise in a certain way. There's a way to do it without belittling. But the bottom line is, if anybody gets upset in the process of doing their job, you have to let them be upset. There's no getting around it. And you don't necessarily have to apologize for letting them know they did the wrong thing.
Well, let me tell you something. I've been apologizing for a lot of years for a lot of stuff that I've done during the taping. Apparently now, it was all wasted. I'll just let you
No.
Listen.
It all depends on the presentation. It all depends on the presentation on how you deal with them.
And Steve, never apologize if you don't mean it.
Well, then I have to take back.
Not apologize if I don't mean it.
Well, I have to take back a lot of apologies. Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with a great team. Well, I'll let you do whatever you want. See you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.